Hi, I'm a sort of a journalist. I cover parliament, I cover policy, but more than that, I'm now a YouTube creator, a podcaster, and I do a lot of random things. How I got into this is a story in itself. I come from a journalism background. I actually come from a CA background, but I quit because I was hopeless at it. I was very bad in school, very, very bad. So bad that, like in the future, I had to face a lot of consequences of that. And how was that I was bad at civics, right? And everybody's bad at civics. It's a 10-mark subject which nobody cares about. So one day, I go to this fellowship, I got into this fellowship where they picked me up and plonked me into parliament, where everything is about civics. So I panicked and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So I went back to our school civics and I was like, I should first do the basics. I should learn my basics first. So I did. I went through the whole civics lessons of 8th, 9th, 10th. And when I went to parliament, something weird happened. I looked around me and I realized, यार इनको भी civics नहीं आता है. क्यों मैं इतना पढ़ाई करके आया हूँ? Seriously. So I worked with MPs for like 6 years, multiple MPs from multiple party lines. I was there when the UPA was there. I was there when the Modi era came about. And one thing that has always been bothering me was, why do we keep getting disappointed with no matter who we elect? Whatever government comes, they do the same things and we keep getting disappointed and hope for the next better one. Why? Why does this keep happening? The second job of which I was doing while I was in parliament was actually helping MPs with their work, writing speeches, doing their research, doing their policy work. So both of these combinations led me to a realization that I need to do something about it. So a year ago I quit and I started writing listicles about laws. Like I have articles with GIFs in them because, lower attention span. I do YouTube videos with references to Bollywood and talking about democracy. I now have a podcast called How to Citizen, where I bring comedians to talk about our 8th grade civics. And so I'm trying to make sure that we all know how to citizen. We know what are the problems with our democracy. So today, I'm going to do exactly that. I am going to try to explain in about 15 minutes how our democracy functions, what are the problems, and what we can do about it. So let's begin. If this works. Yeah, it does work. Imagine, that's a skyscraper by the way. Along with being a great speaker, I'm a great artist as well, as you can notice. So this is a 100-floor skyscraper, right? And we, the people who are sitting here, the people who have access to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, who watch TED Talks, we live somewhere between the 90th and 100th floor. This is a 100-floor building, right? And if you see the characteristics of this skyscraper are quite obvious, right? The 10% live at the top. They have all floors to themselves. The top 1%, which is the 99th floor, those are just penthouses. And the rest of the population lives below us, which is crammed into a lot of small housing societies, small houses with intermittent electricity, bad sanitation, all of that. And if you saw the recent Oxfam report, this is actually true because the top 10% now own 73% of the country's wealth. You can imagine what the concentration of wealth looks like there, right? Now our skyscraper is standing on 4 pillars. If you see at the bottom, there are 4 pillars there. The legislative, the executive, the judiciary, and the media, right? Those are the 4 pillars where our skyscraper is standing on. Now, each of these pillars have their jobs set. The legislative, right? The legislative are the people who you elect as residents of this building. These are the people who you elect who are supposed to make your laws, right? So for instance here, the legislature's job would be, let there be a mall on the 101st floor, right? It should have a Starbucks, it should have a helicopter pad, it should have a golf course, it should have everything, right? Plus, you will tell them that you want Jarvis in your apartment. You want that automated robot who you can talk to, you know, and do all of that. So that is the legislative job. You elect them and they make laws. The job of the executive is to execute those laws. Literally. I mean, yeah. The executive's job is to say, your wish is my command. You say mall, we give you mall. Their job is to hire the contractors, figure out which architect is going to go and build that mall, what Starbucks is going to come in, where it will come in, all those nitty-gritties. Plus, they have to do it in the cheapest way possible, so as to save the money of the taxpayers, which are the residents of this building. Now the judiciary. The judiciary's job is twofold. One is that they have to make sure that these two other pillars are working properly, that one is making laws in the proper way and the other is executing them in the proper way. But the second job is that whenever two people in this building get into a fight, they have to apply the existing law and solve it. That is the basic function of the judiciary. Now I'll come to the media. But before that, this is a cycle, right? Make laws, implement laws, review laws, and then improve on existing laws. It's not a straight line. So they basically say, make a mall, it should be cheaper. Are you making a mall? Is it cheaper? And there's like, can we make a better mall? Because hashtag development, right? We have to look upwards. So it's a cycle which is actually powered by the fourth pillar, which is the media. Now the media's job is to hashtag outrage, right? Which is essentially it. They have to keep a watch on all of these three pillars and see whether they are doing their job and then inform the residents of the building, right? That is the basic job of the media. Now what happens is, that is not the only job of the media though. Their other job is also look at the structural integrity of the skyscraper. Now if you look closely at the bottom at those badly drawn pillars, there are cracks in them. There are some very, very obvious cracks in them, right? Now the job of the media is to also point out those cracks. I'll give you briefly an not so exhaustive list of the cracks, right? In each pillar. Legislature. Now the legislature, did you know there is a thing called anti-defection? Anyone? Guys? Can you raise your hand if you know about anti-defection? Nobody knows. See, a few people do. Yeah. The problem is that basically makes our democracy a not so much democracy. The anti-defection law was brought in to prevent MPs from jumping parties whenever they are elected. Whenever they get elected through a party, they have to serve that party for the duration of their period. But then there is a second part of that law which says that you cannot vote against the party leader's orders either. So if someone, for instance, in this example says, let there be a mall, and the party leader says, yes, let there be a mall, and the MP is actually someone you elected from the 20th floor who is like, yeah, mall and all is fine, but you know, pani chahiye, ya bijli chahiye, ya sadak chahiye. And the party leader actually says, no, you have to vote for a mall. He has to vote for it. If he doesn't, he gets kicked out of parliament. That is the anti-defection law. And that is a problem. Because which means that effectively 8 people with the most presence in the parliament end up ruling our country and deciding laws for us, right? The executive. There is an article 311 in the Constitution which says that bureaucrats can't be fired. Now they're supposed to execute the mall, right? Now here what happens is that if, say for instance, they do not give a contract to a certain somebody who the netas have told them to, they will be transferred. Now they can't be fired, but they can be transferred and their life can be made living hell. Now they will be transferred to the 20th floor where, you know, there is bad sanitation, there are a lot of horrible things going on, and they will miss the time when they were like pencil pushers on the top floors. Now the other thing is that there is no performance review for them either. Like one day they will be building toilets, A month later, they will be moved to Sikkim and they will have to do organic farming. And that is the thing. And then the next day, they will be moved to Delhi to do defense procurements. And that means that the expertise that has to be built within the executive never happens. They just keep being transferred from one place to the other because they are close to a certain politician, or they are not close to a certain politician, then they get transferred as well. That's a problem. Now the judiciary. This is a weird one. Because the judiciary, the way it works is that there is a collegium system where the judges choose their other brother judges. And I'm saying brother for a reason, because it's extremely sexist. They perpetuate a cycle of casteism, elitism, sexism in that process. It's a non-transparent way of choosing our judiciary. There is another flaw there, which is that access to justice is extremely expensive. Like, remember the second part I told you where two residents are fighting? Now, our judiciary, which is the highest judiciary, will only listen to cases of the top people because they have money, because they can afford to fight cases for 10 years. And they can hire the most expensive lawyers. That is where the judiciary will pay attention. While the justice for the lower floors is always a questionable thing. Lower courts will look at it, but they will dismiss it very immediately. And that is a problem in the judiciary. Now the media. The media is a problem where all of us are also involved. If you look at the media right now, they basically like to show conflict, right? I mean, a WWE match is way more funner, right, to watch than, say, normal news, where they're actually telling you facts. Arnab Goswami is fun to watch because he screams, right? He screams and makes other people scream at each other as well, which is fun. TV likes to show us a lot of conflict. News likes to show us a lot of conflict. And the way they fuel this is, nowadays they pick up things from us, the 10%. We're tweeting about things, we're talking about things, we are deciding the agenda. We are the ones who are outraging about certain things we seem to care about, or we are supposed to care about. And those are the stories that the media picks up, they turn it into debate shows, and then they show it to you, right? It's nice for them, it's just a studio which they have to pay for. They have to pay for a certain number of people to come on a daily basis. And it's cheaper, right? It's cheaper. Now, the media is a profit-making business. It is. It's run by advertisements. And it is a very broken system because for a business to function in this fundamentally broken system, they have to also make sure that they also get the future contracts. And how do they get the future contracts? By being close to the government. How are they close to the government? By making sure that the news media is not talking about the government in a critical way. So they will advertise for media while, saying that Binani cement is the best cement in the universe, and saying that, Desh ka cement ye use karo. Meanwhile, they're also editorially telling them that you can't be critical of the government. Otherwise, we'll pull out ads, and then the news channels have to survive. So that's a fundamentally broken problem. We have to think about ways to fix this. We have to think about ways of paying for the news. But as you know, that has not happened yet, and we haven't found a sustainable model for it yet. So what do we do about all this? What do we do in the end of this? What solution do we have? What is the road ahead, right? Now, think about it. You are one person who has suddenly seen this TED talk, and now you are like all inspired कि हाँ मैं जाएगा और मैं वो cracks fill करेगा. I will go with concrete. कौन रोकता है मुझे देखते हैं. And you go there, you stand वहाँ पे नीचे, and you look up at this 100-floor building with like cracks in the pillar, and you're scared, right? And the thing is that the more you fill the cracks, the one person who fills the cracks, the faster the mall is being built on top though, because the whole system is geared towards building that mall, because #development, right? And because the top 10% is looking at other shinier skyscrapers, right? They are seeing, USA ka skyscraper. They are seeing Japan ka skyscraper. And they are like, yaar, ye na, aisa hi chahiye mujhe. Mera skyscraper aisa hi chahiye, and the only way to get it is to go up. The only way to get it is to build that mall. And therefore, the whole system is geared towards giving you that mall. So you standing there, trying to fill that gap, this tiny little person, these huge cracks with concrete, is not going to work. Because more concrete is being supplied for the mall. It is going to crush you. So the only solution for this is if 1 million people go and start filling those cracks. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. But now think about it this way. We started by talking about the legislature. Now you have voted for someone who is going to give you a mall because you have aspirations, because you want a better place to live, because you want shinier things, because our generation of people wants that. Now, if some person, some crazy dude gets up one day and says, if for the next 5 years, all I'm going to do is go down and fix those cracks, that will be considered political suicide today. They will not be able to do it. Because people don't even know there are cracks because they are looking upwards. Because they are looking around them at the floors. They are not looking below. They are not looking at the 20th floor, 30th floor. Who cares? Right? That is where the problem is. We, as citizens, who have our bellies full, because the people below are the ones who are climbing up and building that mall. And they are committing, they fall down from those skyscrapers and die. There are people on garbage heaps in Ghazipur who are shuffling garbage on a day-to-day basis. Now they can't think about these things. They need to work for their next meal. But us, whose bellies are full, who can think about these things, are talking about 10 pictures of Kareena Kapoor coming out of the jail. Oh no, wait, now it's 10 pictures of Taimur sucking on a lollipop. These are where our priorities are today. And that has to change. So the road ahead, as I would suggest, is for 1 million people to go look at these cracks and keep talking about them. The road ahead is for us to try and see who will be able to fix those cracks and vote in people who are geared towards doing that and also supporting them. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.